Hey guys, this is Adam from Mayhem Ops, and today I'm going to be doing kind of a review / overview of the King Arms M4 MOE internals. The King Arms M4 MOE is basically just the King Arms M4A1 with Magpul parts. So this video will cover the M4 MOE internals and the M4A1 internals. So let's get into it. I'm going to start from this side and go on to this side. It's got a plastic spring guide with a shim. Probably replace this with a metal spring guide just for durability, but that'll be fine until it breaks. This is probably an M110 or an M115 spring, so you're getting between 370 and 380 FPS. One thing I wanted to cover is this is a reinforced gearbox, so it's thicker, so it's reinforced, so that makes it more durable and it makes it stronger. And the bushings actually click into place in the gearbox. I've had guns where the bushings will just fall out, so that's nice. And the gears kind of get stuck in the bushing, so it's a real tight fit, and they stay in there tight, so they're not going to wiggle around or anything, and that's also nice. Right here is the super annoying anti-reversal latch. This is the most annoying thing ever. I don't know why they ever made this design in a version 2 gearbox, because this thing is just so annoying to have to put into your gun. And then there's your bevel gear, and there's a shim on the bottom and a shim on the top. Now what I've heard about these gears, I never really confirmed it or did any deep research on it, but I've heard that these were just SHS gears that have been rebranded by King Arms, so they're actually pretty nice gears. They weren't made by King Arms, they're just rebranded by SHS. Here's the piston and piston head. There's the O-ring around it, and it's got one metal tooth. Now the cylinder is a brass cylinder, and a lot of cylinders that I've seen had the little holes in the side. I don't know why this one doesn't have the hole. There is none of that on there. So I don't know if that makes it better or worse. It probably gives you better air compression because none comes out the side, but I don't really know if it helps or doesn't help to not have that there or to have that there. But anyway, it's basically just a brass tube. There's nothing wrong with it. I haven't had any problems with it. Here's the polymer tappet plate. And then this is actually an SHS air nozzle as well. I installed this. It'll give you better FPS, between 20 and 40 extra FPS. This is the stock air nozzle that the gun came with, and there's no O-ring inside the air nozzle. That's the difference between these two. The SHS one has an O-ring in the inside there, so that's why it gives you better air seal, ultimately better FPS. There's one of the gears. There's a little King Arms KA on this one right there. A shim on the top, and yeah, there's a shim on the bottom. It's just covered in grease. Kind of see it. These gears are pretty greasy. They did overdo it on the grease some, but whenever I get a gun, I always take it apart and re-grease it myself anyway. So it's not a huge deal to me. On this gear, I believe that there's a shim in the top here of this gearbox, and then there's also one on the bottom. And then your trigger. And what I like about this trigger setup, it's just a regular version 2 trigger setup, but the trigger does not pop out on this gun. I mean, a lot of guns that I've had, you'll put the trigger in, you'll have to hold it in while you're trying to put the gearbox together because it'll just pop out. But what's nice about this one is that it does actually stay in there without having to do anything. I don't really want to take apart the trigger assembly because that's just a pain in the butt to get together, but that basically covers all of the internals of this. I mean, reinforced gearbox shell, so you're not going to have to replace that, and that's real durable, it's real strong. Selector plate over here, nothing much special about that. There is heat shrink tubing all along the wires, and this gun is wired to the front. And then down at the bottom, you've got your motor connectors there. But this is a great gearbox. I mean, with just a few upgrade parts, you're pretty much set already. But with just a few simple upgrade parts, you can really make this gun great. I mean, the air nozzle will make it great. There's other things that I would upgrade too, like the spring guide, to get a metal one just for durability. and probably a new piston, because this piston, for some reason, whatever reason, it has problems meshing correctly with this gear when it's sitting on there, and has problems getting on the track. So that might actually be the problem with the cylinder. I think that the cylinder is too thick. So when the piston is sitting in there, the gear doesn't quite catch it, and the piston kind of gets lost inside the cylinder. So you got to make sure that if you're taking this gun apart, that these pieces are together correctly, because I had a problem with this, and I figured out it was the gears not meshing with the piston correctly, but my gun was working, everything fine, and everything was moving and working. The motor was running, I could even hear the gears running, and I opened up the gearbox and I dry fired it, and even the tappet plate was moving back and forth. So the only problem that it could have been is just this gear was not connecting with the piston and pulling back the spring to fire a BB. But when you're taking this gun apart, make sure when you're putting it back together that this piston is on the tracks correctly, because this is a thick cylinder. So as you can see, it's moving around a lot, and a small piston. So I might replace either the piston or the cylinder to compensate for that, so I don't have to deal with that problem, because it's a pretty annoying thing to have to deal with. One thing I didn't cover was the cylinder head. I forgot about that. Pretty basic. It's a plastic cylinder head with an O-ring on it. Now, you get decent compression with the stock air nozzle. As you can see, it does fit on there pretty loosely, and when you move it fast, you actually get good compression. If you go slow, not much air comes out, but if you move it fast, you do get real good compression. But if you can see how loose that is with that air nozzle, and then you put on the aftermarket SHS air nozzle, it's a much tighter fit that's going to give you better air seal and ultimately better FPS, like I was talking about. But it's a decent gearbox, decent stock parts. It's King Arms with rebranded SHS gears, so there's a good combination there. But if you're thinking about upgrading this gearbox, do whatever you want to it. I mean, it's already fine by itself, stock, but with just a few simple upgrade parts, you could really make this gun something special. I think that wraps up this video. It's been a Mayhem Ops review by Adam. Thanks for watching. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa.